So welcome for the newcomers. This is the third speech of the stream Investment and Portfolio Management Trends. I let Alexander Sperlich from Morningstar talk about high quality data in AI-driven research.
All right, thank you very much, and welcome to the session here. So the topic of this year's DKF is AI and financial data. The race is on. Well, obviously, we need to relate this somehow to AI. And the first way I did that, the title of the presentation is generated by AI. It was my idea. Of course, I gave some input to that. All right, what I would like to do is to talk about a bit about AI, but without going too much into the detail. And then I would like to combine it with the data topic, data in a sense of related to financial research. And then to explain how we help clients by combining those two things, right? And combining those two things to the benefit of the client, meaning to the benefit of the investor. All right, I would like to also make this as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. Also, I have to make one or the other pause. Simply, I'm suffering from hay fever. And this sort of is not good while presenting. Sorry for that. Okay. But let's start with a quick general look on the AI topic as such. But maybe we start with a quick quiz. Just one question. In 2023, what's your guess? How many new AI models were developed? Just throw me a number. Anybody knows GPT? Anybody knows Gemini? How many new models have been developed in 2023? That's a good one. I was totally off. When I was asked this question, I was totally off, I have to admit. That's a slight overstatement. Yeah, it was 149 new models in 2023, and a bit more than 50 this year alone. Right? So what does it tell us? It's a very, very hot topic. And not just for like the Silicon Valley geeks, but really this topic has landed in the financial industry for quite some time already, but latest since 2023. Okay, now there are a number of pros and cons associated to the overall AI topic, right? It's a new topic. There are some perceived positive elements and some perceived negative elements. So, and looking at the perceived positive elements, for instance, right now, or in 2022, about 87 billion US dollar globally were associated to AI. This number will grow to a bit more than 400 billion. Okay, good. The contribution of AI-related topics in Germany until 2023 is expected to be around 11%. Not total, but relative. We will not have a GDP growth of 11%, I guess. And then for the US, it will be around 21. And then for most, according to a study, those are a number of studies. So we have Stanford, we have BCG, we have the World Economic Forum behind all those numbers. And then one element or one answer which companies gave why they start using AI was to overcome labor shortage. Well, that's one thing. Now, contrary to that, about 40% of all Germans, well, not all Germans, but those who were asked, they see a potential threat in AI, threat of losing their jobs. which is fairly in line with what the World Economic Forum has came up in a recent study, that approximately 400 million jobs globally will be gone due to AI developments. At the same time, about 95 million jobs will be created. And then there is a third element. 70% of all consumers, translated to the financial world, retail investors, are concerned about fake news created by generative AI, or AI in general. And this is exactly the point where the quality of data comes into play. Let's look at it. AI is not just a topic where we say, oh, there is some black box creating something more or less meaningful. The quality of the output, it doesn't change. It doesn't change so far. The quality of the output is heavily dependent on what you put in. Simple as that, right? Now, with that being said, that means it does matter a lot what type and quality of data you put into that model. Here are some other stats. Transformer, not the movie where some cars do something, but like the Transformer, the very early model created by Google in 2017 around. The cost of training Transformer was about, I don't ask you, $1,000. So probably a handful of people sitting there for, I don't know, a week or so. The cost of training Gemini Ultra, the latest and greatest iteration, in 2023 was $200 million, right? So basically, this brings back the good old question for any financial institution who says, okay, I want to make use of AI. It brings back the question, make or buy, right? And this is exactly what we will now take a look at. And I will explain a bit how Morningstar has positioned itself in this space. Now, just very, very briefly, I mentioned it before, it remains the same. It's input, processing, output. And with that being said, yeah, we're suffering from the same problem. Sorry. So with that being said, there are roughly 3 key areas Morningstar has focused on with regard to its AI developments and efforts. One is data and research. Of course, we're a data and research house. The other one is something around product usability. And the third one is product support. Basically, a very sophisticated version of FAQ. But let's focus on the data and research part here. When we look at data and research, there are essentially 3 key areas, as you can see here. It's up-to-date information. Keep in mind, we're talking about financial research, how we can help clients to better advise their investors. So up-to-date information, we all heard this in the past when we started using AI or when we first came across AI. Oh yeah, those data are outdated back from September. Well, this doesn't work in the financial industry, of course, right? There's nothing as old as an outdated price for a stock or a bond or whatever it is. There's nothing as old as an outdated company information, which you were not taking into consideration the latest update and therefore did the wrong decision or made the wrong decision. So this is something very, very crucial to us. The other thing is ease of access. What do I mean by that? Well, I don't know whether we need more data or whether we just need a capability to better deal with the data we have at hand. Right? I remember I was working for a global bank, and about 15 years back, we had a big topic, and that was called big data. Because as a bank, you do have all the data at hand of all your clients, full transparency. And we said, okay, let's sit down and do something with it. Yeah, 500 highly paid data analysts. 5 years later, outcome was 0. Nothing happened. Nothing. So all the data is meaningless if you don't use it, if you don't digest it, if you don't come up with the right output. And what is right? Well, this is a different story. Right? And then there's a last point. Down here, it's called structured responses. And honestly speaking, this is one of my favorites here. Because if we think of structured responses, or the way I would like to illustrate it, is typically by using a day-to-day life example. Client calls his advisor, her advisor, asking, look, what are the top 3 healthcare stocks in North America? Typically, the advisor would then go, yeah, I'm going to call you back, or I'll write you back, give me a day or 2. Then he starts either digging himself or passes it on to his in-house investment specialists. And 1 or 2 days later, after 2 to 3 people got involved, he may or may not have an answer to his client. Now think about the same situation leveraging AI. You have some sort of an interface, either asking or typing exactly the same question. And the advisor will be able to tell the client, well, hold on a second. I'll give you the answer right away. 2 seconds later, he gets the answer. Good. But those outcomes, this answer, better be, in this very specific example, it needs to be healthcare stocks, hopefully. It needs to be North American based. And it needs to be the best, whatever that means in this context. Right? What I'm saying is, it better be right. It cannot be that the outcome will some random processing where maybe you end up with Roche, great pharmaceutical company, nothing related to North America, not directly, right? So what I'm saying with that, it's really crucial that the outcome is the right outcome. And which then brings me back to the question, okay, what is the right data to use? And here I think this is exactly a scenario where we can illustrate how we at Morningstar combine our efforts around AI together with our research capabilities. And although I'm referring to equity research in my presentation, this equally applies to fund research as we are a fund research house too, right? All right, for those of you who don't know Morningstar that well, yes, we are those guys with those funny little stars next to a fund name. This is something we started 30 years back, 25. And yes, this is Chicago. So we are Chicago-based, and we have started with the fund rating and fund data topic. But by now, Morningstar is so much more. So much more, that means we're not only a fund data specialist, probably the best globally, whatever defines best, right? But we're also very, very uniquely positioned when it comes to market data, equity data, We're a global index provider. Yeah, there are other names out there other than MSCI, S&P. Yeah. We are an ESG data and rating provider, a global one. We're also one of the leading providers when it comes to private market data with our PitchBook database. And so much more. And one of those much more is, yes, we are the largest independent equity research house. What do I mean by independent? Morningstar has no strings attached to something like brokerage or investment banking activities. But let's look at it a bit more in detail. So as mentioned, what makes us so special when it comes to equity research? There are a number of houses out there or providers out there who claim themselves independent too. Just because they don't have any strings attached to brokerage and investment banking activities the same way we do, we don't do. But there's a caveat to that, because they are owned by banks. We're not. We're NASDAQ listed, and key shareholder of Morningstar is the founder, which still owns like 35-ish%. So we are truly independent, and with that, people do come to us seeking for unbiased, objective research content. Then the other one is the breadth and depth. When I say the largest, it refers to two things. A, the coverage, I will show you later, and the number of analysts. I'll show you this as well. But we have large teams globally, and basically all the major financial centers, which allow us to accommodate for global companies and markets to cover those, but also then take into consideration local nuances and regulations. And then we have our approach is to use quantitative and qualitative insights. So basically, you have all the financial data, and then you have the analyst insights on top of it. Global and local expertise, I alluded to that one already. So one last thing which really makes us standing out from the crowd here is accessibility, and I will demonstrate it a bit later, because all the outcome is good and fair. Referring back to my big data topic, or example which I gave earlier. But it's only as good as you can make it accessible to those who are going to use it. And this accessibility, or those needs for accessibility, are different depending on which client you're talking to. And we can accommodate for that. Quickly to our research capabilities as such, before I will then show you some use cases or illustrate a little bit on some cases where we're currently exploring with some clients. Okay, talking about our equity coverage. We have about 130 analysts globally, about the same size on the fund side. And with those 130 analysts, we do cover about 1,700 stocks qualitatively. In other terms, good old-fashioned style. Those analysts go and visit those companies, do the analysis, join conference calls, so on and so forth. And then we cover about 57,000 stocks quantitatively. I will elaborate a bit more on that because as part of our use cases, because in the broadest term, you can look at it as a use case of AI, although this was created back in the days when there was no term AI. right? But I will show you later. And then down here, you see some regional distribution. Yes, of course, given our history, there is still quite some bias towards North America. But in terms of momentum, like where we add the most coverage, it is Europe and it's Asia. And for those who wonder why Australia, well, we bought a company down there, and that's basically a heritage. In the interest of time, I will probably skip this. This is our research methodology. Just a few words. Morningstar's research methodology is value-based. And so value-based, for those who know, that basically goes back to Warren Buffett and his approach. And basically, this is what Morningstar follows. So if any company decides to not only apply AI, but maybe also use our equity research, well, this is one of the first questions which need to be answered. Is this methodology the right methodology for you? What do I mean by that? Typically, this is very, very suited for typical wealth managers or, in European terms, private banks who seek long-term relationships and long-term investment results with their clients. If there is a potential client out there looking for trading signals, more like a tech trading base, definitely not the right one, right? Okay, but we can dive into that if somebody is more interested in more details on this one. Now, what's the outcome of all this? Well, the outcome is this. Our stars, here they are again, right? So Morningstar's rating outcome is not a typical strong buy down to strong sell, but it's a 5-star rating. Well, guess what? You can easily translate it into strong sell to strong buy. And this is how most of our clients are doing it. Then we have the rating with a denomination of a little q. This is simply saying, okay, this is not analyst-based, this is quantitative research. And then, to complete this picture, we also have the ESG rating, right? So clients can, instead of good old days, here's your company report, here's your ESG report. It's combined, and clients can provide one holistic view to their end clients. Now, before we get to the use cases, one part which I would like to illustrate a bit more, and that is the whole accessibility part. On top, as small as it is, as important it is, retail, advisor, institutional. So there's one approach we follow at Morningstar when it comes to output. Be it for equity research, be it for fund research. It needs to be tailored to the individual stakeholder. With the hypothesis in mind that in order to make this whole advisory process work, there need to be different or customized information at hand for the different stakeholders. That means a retail report, here analyst output, a retail research report is typically 2 pages on a company. Provides enough information, yet not too much. Then for an advisor, he typically is in need for a bit more detail. So this report typically is around 5 pages. And then you have we call it institutional, sometimes it's used by in-house advisory investment specialists. We have the institutional report. It's a 30-page document. No end client on this planet will read it, right? So it's really tailored because those guys need it. And then you have respective portals, which clients can use. Additional publications, so like market trends and so on and so forth. But then one development down at the bottom, we have also so-called editorial content, because Back in the days, everybody was reading some magazines, some newspaper. Then everybody was sitting there and scrolling through some tablets or any type of screen, reading some PDF reports. Now, these days, typically, the way to consume content information also gets expanded to videos. So most of our analyst commentary is also produced as a 60 to 90-second video to basically provide the key elements of some of our analysis. All right. With that, I would like to now come to the use cases we have. You heard the quantitative rating a number of times throughout this presentation. What was the situation? Back in 2013, we came up with the quant rating. And what is the quant rating? We used to describe it as a synthetic replication of our analyst process. So no matter whether the analyst evaluates a company or the machine-based algorithm learning system is evaluating a company, the process as such, if we go back here, the process as such is the same, right? So, but of course, with one caveat, the machine can only react to hard facts and figures. So far, we are working on that, but so far, it cannot react to rumors. Analysts can put a stock on the review, saying, okay, I need further clarification. A machine cannot yet. But with that, we were able to expand our research coverage universe as described before. And the way clients typically use that is, okay, those are my core universe stocks. I don't know, typical bank, say 200 stocks on the coverage in the core universe. And then we have, in particular, coming from Asia or so, some very specific needs. And this is then sort of a satellite approach covered by our quant ratings. Yes, we have back-tested that in case this question comes up. The result is in 99.6 or 7%. It's the same. Basically, it's the outcome. The rating outcome is the same, no matter a machine does it or the analyst does it. Please don't ask me the question why we still have analysts. Please. Okay. Next, more important question or more important use case, I guess, is access to our financial research. That's a current case we're working on with a large Swiss bank. This bank already uses our research. And the healthcare example I gave you earlier, there's nothing I made up. This was the use case they presented me with. They said, look, Alice, how can we deal with this? How can we do it better? And they have, as probably most of the banks typically do, they start in-house. We want to do it ourselves. We want to solve it ourselves. We have smart brains in-house. After quite some time, they discovered, well, it's maybe a bit more tricky than we thought. Of course, you can buy a system, but then back to the question, how to train it. So it really comes with your output, with your research, be it your in-house research, be it research you brought from Morningstar, or whatever it is. But it better be the same as you would sell or as you would tell a client if he or she would ask an advisor directly, right? So I said, look, we're struggling with. Can you help us with AI? And now we have started this journey together. First, they want to implement it in-house. So instead of the RM, the relationship manager, calling the investment specialist asking, hey, can you help me with this and that? He got an interface asking the questions. Only if he or she needs further detail, which cannot be answered or not sufficiently answered, then it's like a second level support, the investment specialist. And this, well, does it help? I had an interesting conversation. Does it help to the bank to generate more revenue per se? Probably not. Does it help the bank to advise the clients in a better way, like faster, more efficient, maybe even more effective? Maybe. I'm I'm sure about it, but the maybe comes from the bank. So that is a very, very tangible. I cannot disclose any more details here, but for obvious reasons. But that is something AI has landed, and not only with the big Goldman Sachs of this world, with sheer endless financial capabilities. The last one is a workflow example I brought to you, and that is something we do with a French client. This French client has a typical fund selection setup. So it has an in-house team, and this in-house team does nothing else the entire day but deciding what is a good fund, what is a bad fund, according to their own criteria. A team of 12 people. They've started in doing everything in-house. They then did the next stage and say, okay, Morningstar, can you do a little bit of the sort of, forgive me for the lack of better terms, the monkey jobs in the beginning, basically to narrow down, what do we have globally, 185,000 funds to, I don't know, 10,000, and then from there we start. And then the next iteration is that we want to use AI. And why is that? Because we want to make use of those specialists, those fund selection specialists, to not only do the general decision good or bad, but really to add value internally to their relationship managers and to end clients. And for that, we have created also, or we are about to create an engine which basically interacts with their workflow systems, where the selector has not go to A and B and terminal C and bring it all together with Excel spreadsheets and all this, but really it takes you directly to the respective tool. It takes you directly to the respective outcome, depending on what your requirements are. I know very, very high level, but for confidentiality reasons, I can unfortunately not dive further into the details here. With that being said, I'm 2 minutes over time. I'm really sorry for that. But thank you very much. If there are any questions, I think I got to leave this room, but I'll wait outside. Thank you.
Thank you very much.